Dozens of people are searching for a missing hiker in the gorge.
21-year-old Riley Zickel set out on an overnight hike by himself.
Colorado County Sheriff's Office is searching for a missing hiker on the Olympic Peninsula.
John and Trevor Higgins, the father and son, were last seen Friday. They disappeared while hunting near Bear Camp Road above Agnes.
21-year-old Riley Zickel, the senior at Lewis and Clark College, disappeared.
An emotional plea from friends of a woman who is missing right now in the Skamania County wilderness. She's 19 years old, Maureen Kelly.
Searchers are looking for a 76-year-old farmer who did not come back from mushroom hunting near Grangeville.
Hello, and welcome to the Pacific Northwest Missing Persons Project, the podcast where we explore the strange and unexplained vanishings of people who seemingly disappeared without a trace. I'm Tanner Hoskins, and in today's episode, we journey to the towering peak of Mount Rainier to unravel some of the greatest mysteries of the Pacific Northwest. The first story is that of Eric Lewis. A skilled climber and experienced outdoorsman, Eric set out on a routine ascent with two companions in July of 2010. But something happened near the summit. Something that has left experts and fellow climbers baffled to this day. One moment, Eric was secured to the climbing rope. The next, his partners were pulling up an empty coil with a butterfly knot. No cry for help, no footprints leading away. Just gone. For those of you that are unfamiliar with Mount Rainier, it's a force of nature. Standing at 14,411 feet in elevation, it is the highest peak in Washington state and one of the most dangerous volcanoes in the world. The mountain's unpredictable weather, treacherous ice falls, and grueling climbs have taken the lives of many. But Eric Lewis's disappearance wasn't just another tragic accident. It was an enigma. On July 1st of 2010, Eric and his two climbing partners were ascending via the Gibraltar Ledges route, a well-known winter climbing path that was first conquered in 1870. It was a challenging climb, made more difficult by high winds and poor visibility that day. At about the 13,900-foot elevation mark, the lead climber, Don Storm, stopped and was joined by Trevor Lane. When they pulled in their rope to check on Eric, all they found was a neatly tied butterfly knot. Their companion had vanished. The two men immediately scanned the slopes below, expecting to see some sign of their friend. But there was nothing. No movement, no gear, no sign of where he had gone. They pressed onto the summit ridge, hoping against all hope that Eric had somehow climbed ahead. When that search turned up nothing, they hurried back down to Camp Muir to alert park rangers. What followed was one of the most extensive searches in Mount Rainier history. A team of over 40 experienced mountaineers, including the National Park Service rangers, professional climbing guides, and volunteers, scoured the terrain. A military Chinook helicopter from Fort Lewis took to the skies, scanning for any trace of Eric. But the mountain gave up few clues. Days later, searchers discovered a snow cave at 13,800 feet. Inside, they found Eric's backpack, climbing harness, and snow shovel, but nothing else. No sleeping bag, no food, no sign of Eric himself. It was as if he had sought shelter and then simply disappeared into the white void. Search leader Glenn Kessler weighed the brutal reality and is quoted as saying, "We have thoroughly searched the areas where we were likely to find Eric Lewis and believe it's now time to scale back. Terrain is incredibly dangerous, and the odds of finding him alive diminish by the hour." But the questions remain. Why did Eric unclip himself from the rope in the first place? Did Eric experience altitude sickness or hypothermia, leading to confusion and disorientation? Did he fall into a hidden crevasse, forever buried in the shifting ice and snow? Or was there yet another explanation? Some have speculated that Eric might have intentionally detached himself. Was it a suicide? A moment of reckless independence in the face of exhaustion? Or did something spook Eric? There's another, darker theory. In mountaineering history, there have been cases where climbers, faced with impossible choice, have cut their partners loose to survive. The infamous story of Joe Simpson and Simon Yates up in the Andes is one such example. An impossible moral decision that haunts those involved. Could something similar have happened on Mount Rainier? We may never know what truly happened to Eric Lewis on that day in 2010. His body remains lost to the mountain, a ghost in the ice. But as long as the mystery endures, so do the questions. A quick reminder. My book, The Silent Forest: Disappearances in the Land of Legends, is available on Amazon right now. You can get a copy through the digital Kindle version, and if you're on Kindle Unlimited, you can read the book for free with your monthly subscription. The book is also available in paperback copies, and hardcover is being worked on at the moment due to some edits that were needed post-production. If you would like a signed copy of the book, you can get a hold of me at info@pnwmpp.org. There, you can let me know that you would like a signed copy, and please provide your mailing address. Thank you. Let's get back to this week's episode. The second case I like to bring up is that of Zachary Weston, a 22-year-old MIT student and experienced outdoorsman who vanished in Mount Rainier National Park on August 11th of 2005. Zachary had been in the park since June 22nd, immersing himself in the natural beauty and solitude of the backcountry. He was known to be a self-sufficient, methodical hiker with a sharp mind and deep appreciation for nature. On August 11th, he dropped off a friend in Ashford for another climbing trip, intending to reconnect the following day. But when that reunion never happened, alarm bells were raised. Search teams quickly located Zachary's vehicle at the Comet Falls trailhead and his campsite positioned at Snow Lake. Both of these suggested that Zachary had intended a short and familiar hike, but that's where the trail ends. No gear was missing, no signs of a struggle, no distress calls or notes that were left behind. Despite an intensive search that included air and ground teams, cadaver dogs, and expert trackers, no trace of Zachary was ever recovered. Not a piece of gear, not a footprint beyond what was expected at his campsite. Zachary had vanished as completely as if the mountain had swallowed him whole. Zachary wasn't just another missing hiker. He was a son, a friend, a promising student with a mind built for problem solving and a heart tuned to the rhythm of the wild. His family and friends still wonder if someone out there remembers seeing him, even briefly, or stumbled across something that might bring long-awaited answers. If you have any information regarding Zachary Weston's case, please contact the National Park Service at 360-569-6613. And our final case for this week brings us to yet another heartbreaking and perplexing disappearance on Mount Rainier. This is the story of Vincent Djie, a 24-year-old international student from Indonesia that was living in Seattle, Washington. Vincent was a bright and determined young man. He held both a bachelor's and a master's degree in business administration. Vincent spoke multiple languages and was admired for his work ethic and integrity at West Seattle Foods, where he worked as a production associate. On June 19th of 2020, Vincent went on a solo hike along the Van Trump Trail toward Mildred Point, a challenging but scenic trek within Mount Rainier National Park. He was last seen around 3 p.m. that afternoon. When he didn't return home that evening, his absence quickly sparked concern. Vincent's vehicle was later found in the Longmire parking area, a known entry point for backcountry adventurers. An exhaustive search ensued, involving park rangers, mountain rescue teams, helicopters, drones, and even infrared scanners. Despite the sheer effort and resources deployed, Vincent was never found. Unstable snow bridges, treacherous spring melt conditions, and poor visibility likely hindered both Vincent's safe return and the effectiveness of the search. 2 years later, in August of 2022, Vincent's parents traveled from Indonesia to witness a renewed search effort led by the John Francis Foundation. This foundation deployed 7 search dogs and multiple ground teams. Still, the mountain yielded no answers. Vincent's case is part of a chilling cluster of disappearances on Rainier during the same summer. Experienced climbers like Matthew Bunker, Talal Sabal, and Sam Dubal also vanished or lost their lives within weeks of each other on the mountain. Whether coincidence, natural danger, or something more elusive, it raises disturbing questions about what lurks in these shadowed peaks. If you have any information about Vincent Djie's case, please contact the Pierce County Sheriff's Department at 253-287-4721 or the National Park Service at 360-569-6683. That's it for this week's podcast. Until next week, please remain vigilant and become familiar with the missing person cases in the area that you plan to recreate in. You never know when you might locate something that brings answers or closure to a grieving family. Thank you.